To do it properly.
Sure, so
Hi, Lazar. Shavuot tov.
Shavuot Tov, Shavuot Tov. How's the Yontef?
The Yom Tov, beautiful. I was here I'm still on this side of town.
Oh wow, okay.
My
You gave some shiur?
I did.
Good for you. Good for you.
Beautiful.
Where at Yip? Yeah.
I davened at Yik. I davened at
Oh.
Westside. I davened at Adas.
Wow. Where'd you give the shiur then?
No, I gave here there's a local minion that my son, like by Nila Sachag, I spoke.
Oh wow.
The local minion here in Beverlywood that a lot of people attend. Instead of
Right,
walking
yeah.
to school,
Oh good.
they attend here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah.
Where were you?
I was home. I mean, we had a big minyan by Mincha Marav, both all Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. We had 35, 40, 50 people in my backyard. We have it every Motzei Shabbos, but now we had it for, the neighborhood people instead of going back to shul. So we have the minyan here. It's really nice.
Right.
But Shabbos morning, I went to Beis Yehuda. I stayed up, part of the night at home, but I didn't go to shul. There was one man that was walking home from shul 2 nights ago, about 1 o'clock in the morning, he got assaulted. They held him up.
Really?
And yeah, and right on Detroit Street. It's Detroit Street.
He got held up on Detroit Street walking home at 1 o'clock at night.
Yeah. He had a Rolex watch they took him from. Sure, probably. They've been happening. It's not an uncommon thing. It's happening in the past 3-4 weeks. I had a few times on Detroit Street. It's right near where my daughter lives. She lives on between Rosewood and Oakwood on the corner. But the guy walks till 1 o'clock in the morning without alone. It's not good. Can't take any chances here.
Yeah, but Leil Shavuos, people walk alone some, night of
Yeah, I know, but you gotta be careful. You just gotta be careful there. The wrong kind of people around. So
okay. Well,
with
tomorrow,
stuff.
tomorrow is elections, and hopefully we will start in a new direction tomorrow. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on
Tomorrow.
pay test 89.
Right. Okay. I'll put it.
So we're dealing with the sugya of a woman whose husband goes to China, and then they tell her that he's dead. Even one aide can tell her, and then she marries another man, and then the original husband comes back. So that's the Rishon and the Sheni. So we said, Shenosan la'achron get, if the second husband gave her a get, lo pasla b'na kahuna. That get is not really worth anything, because remember, you cannot get married, you can't be makadesh and eishes. So she was really never married to the second guy. So the halachic force of the get doesn't have any halachic force. So it doesn't passel her as a grusha, so she could marry a Kohen in the future. Now we're talking about when she was given kiddushin only by the second guy, right? We're not talking about that the second guy actually lived with her with Nisuin. We talked about this was a case where the second guy only gave her kiddushin and then gave her a get. Such a get is lo pasam na kuhuna. Now, michlal de lo boy get. It must be the reason why it's not considered a get is because she didn't need a get. Because you cannot be makadosh neshasish, and it's not even kiddushin misafek, because even kiddushin misafek would be considered a gerushin, right? The boy get amaylo pasam na kuhuna, because if she would have been required a get, it wouldn't have puzzled her from kuhuna. Elasefer amri kiddushay toos havu. So we have to say that the end of the Mishnah of kiddushin only, people might think that it was some kind of mistake in the kiddushin, like a kiddushin al tanai, and that's why they were mavatel the kiddushin. So, but Reisha. So the Reisha, the Gemara asked where there was Nesuin, Nami Ami Nesui Tosov. Why don't we say that Nesuin was Betos? So the Gemara says, since there was an Isser there committed, Kansua Rabbanon. There they made a knas that it would require a get, because maybe the original guy before he went to China had given her a get. And maybe people would think the second marriage was a real marriage. And to walk away without a get, people will think would be problematic. So the Gemara says, Seifa Nami, where it was the case of kiddushin only, also liknesua, we should knas her. So the Gemara says, no, Reisha davdi surah, where she actually lived with the second husband, and she was basically mizan as an eshasish kansua. Seifa, where there was only kiddushin given, the law of the Isur, there was no Isur created there, lo kansua Rabbanan. Rabbanan didn't make a knas that they needed a get. Mishnah said, "Ein la ksuba." She doesn't get a ksuba from either husband. My time at the Kindle Rabbanan ksuba. What's the whole reason why a ksuba was created? Kidei shelo take kalabein of lotzia. It's not so pashut to divorce your wife. You have to pay her a lot of money. That's why the ksuba. So we don't want it. We don't want husbands to have it easy to get rid of their wives. However, take kalabein of lotzia. But here we don't want them to stay married because we're saying teitze mizeh umizeh. So by disincentivizing, there's no ksuba. It makes it easy for her to divorce, for the man to leave the wife. Similarly, the Mishnah said, "Ein la peiros v'lo mezonos v'lo blos." She doesn't get reimbursement for the peiros that the husband ate. She doesn't get room and board. She doesn't get her clothing. Because Tanai Ksuba, Kiksuba Dami. These are Tanoim that are part of the Ksuba. And it's treated like the Ksuba. Just like we get rid of the Ksuba, we get rid of these incentives as well. And not Lamizomis, if she took these things, she has to pay them back. So versus Pshita, of course, she would have to pay them back. They don't belong to her. Why would you have to tell me that she has to pay them back? Because Madisema came into Tafsalom of Kinamina. Maybe since she took it, we don't take it away from her. Kamashalon, that we do take it away from her. Then we said Vlad is mamzer, that children from both the first husband and the second husband, if she goes back to the first husband, the child is a mamzer. And any sons from the second husband is also a mamzer. Tanan Asam, we learn in the Mishnah. Ein tormem and atome ala tohar. If when you give truma, and you have tohar produce, you should not give tame produce as truma for it. Now, if you vim toram, if he did it, so b'shoigeg truma so truma. If he didn't know he didn't know that the produce was tame, the truma that he gave has a status of truma. B'mezi loss of lakum. If he does it b'mezi, he knows what he's doing. The produce doesn't have the status of truma. Now, what does it mean? My loss of a laklum. Amrav Chizda, loss of laklum kol ikr. Da'afila hi griva hadr letivle. The produce that he gave truma, it's really tevel, like it was before. Everything is bottle. It's all tevel. Rav Nasan, Rabbi Shimon, lo yasav laklum l'takin hashirayim. Means lo yasav laklum. That means it doesn't work to say that the produce that he was trying to correct, not to be tevel, it doesn't work. It remains tevel. Aval truma havi, but kedushas truma exists on the produce that he separated, but it doesn't work to say that the chulin is now no longer tevel. Rav Chizda Rav Nasan Rabbi Shadi Amrit Havi Truma. Rav Chizda didn't want to say that the produce that he was mafresh is truma, because zimnin de parsha v'loy mafresh. We tell him to go back and give a second time truma properly. But let's say he doesn't do it, because if he's told that this produce has a status of truma, he won't go back and fix it. So and it'll remain tevel. So the Gemara then therefore asks, Ma'ishna mehadisnan. Why is this different from the following Mishnah? Hatorem kishus, you have zucchini, and you separated zucchini as truma, but v'nimtzas mara, you taste it and it's bitter. Or avatiach v'nimtzas sarach, or you have watermelon, and you taste the watermelon, you gave truma from watermelon, and it's spoiled. The din is truma, v'yachzor v'yitrom. The din is that which you gave is truma, but you should go back and give new truma, take another cucumber or watermelon, so there we're not choishesh that he's not going to go back. Excuse me, it says v'nimtzes saruach truma. It doesn't say anything else. Why don't you tell him to go back and do it again? How come you're not worried? He's not going to do it by calling it truma. So the Gemara says, shoygig amazid koromis. You're asking me a kasha in a case of shogig versus mazid. Shoygig, when a guy gives produce from something he didn't know was tummy, he's a shogig, lo avidisura. But mazid ko avidisura. So you can't ask a kasha from there. But Rami shoygig a shoygig. But we can ask on shoygig to shoygig. Hachak tani, b'shoygig, truma so truma. If you do it b'shoygig, we said that which he was mafresh is truma. And hasam ktani truma v'yachzor v'yitro. The other place says it's truma, but you still have to go back and do it again. Why? So hasam shoygig karv lemezi. It's not a simple case of shoygig. It's a shoygig that's close to mezi. That when you gave the zucchini and it was bitter, you know what? The boiler limit to me. You should have tasted it. So it's not a pure shogeg. And Rabbi Mezid amazid. Hachak Tani b'mezid lo asa klum. In our case, it said b'mezid didn't do anything. Hasam tanan hatar mishein nokuv al nokuv. You have a pot, a flower pot that doesn't have a hole in it. So it's separated from the ground. And you gave produce from such a pot to try to potter produce that was growing in a flower pot with a hole in it. There also we say truma v'yachzor v'yitro. So betray money, two different flower pots, tzayis. You see clearly one has a hole in it, one does not. If you make him go back and if we're going to make him go back to give truma again, he understands why he's doing it because there's two different pots. But he's not going to know if it's in one pot. He's not going to understand the reason, and he'll think that if you declare that which he was mafresh truma, he won't go back and give it back a second time. L'takin shirayim, we say he said it doesn't work to make the tevel untevel. Aval truma avi. He said the truma that you were mafresh works. So ma'ishlame hadisnan. Why is it different from the following? Mina nokuv al she'ei nokuv truma so truma. You have a flower pot that's connected to the ground through a hole, and you try to give truma from that to potter up a flower pot that does not have a hole, so it's an independent entity. But the lote truma. You may not eat it until you make sure you give truma meiser from someplace else. How come over there it doesn't work? Shiny really minat Torah, it's perfectly good truma. Kid Rabbi Loi. A person who gives truma from, let's say, something that's spoiled, still works. Now, imein kadosh, if the thing didn't become kadosh, nesiyus chet lama. Why is there nesiyus chet? Mikan l'tormin hara le'ofesh truma so truma. According to you, who said it doesn't work at all, who agreed out everything is tevel. My time you were concerned if you declare it truma. He's not going to go back and separate truma again. Can it be something that midoraisa? It has the status of truma, and somehow the rabbanon of the koach to get rid of it and make it chulin? Can Bezdin be oiker something in a Torah? And now begins a very famous sugya regarding the power of Bezdin to uproot something in a Torah. Amar lei, so Rav Chisda says, what? V'at lo tizbara? What, you don't hold that Bezdin has the power to be oiker davar in a Torah? Not. Havlad mamzer mizer mizer. We said, when a wife's husband goes off to China, and Adim come and say an aide comes and says he was dead, and she remarries, and then the original husband comes back, and she goes back to live with her original husband. So the Vlad from the second husband is a mamzer, and the Vlad from the first husband is a mamzer. So the Gemara says, Bishlam Misheni mamzer. I understand. When she lived with the second husband, she was Neisha Ish, because the husband in China was not dead. So of course, any children from the second husband is a mamzer. Elami Rishon Amai. Well, I mean, she's still married to the Rishon. He never gave her a get. That marriage didn't go anywhere. Why is it mamzer? It's from the Rishon. Ishtohi, Yisrael Ma'ayu. So therefore, now by saying it's a mamzer mizeh mizeh, he's a regular, Minatori is a Yisrael, but the Kosherin Lebu mamzeres. Now, who is a mamzer allowed to live with? A mamzeres. Well, now you're taking a pasha to Yisrael, who's normally not allowed to marry a mamzeres, is allowed to live with a mamzeres, because you declared, Rabbanan declared him a mamzer. So it looks like the Rabbanan of the koyach to be oiker dvar min ha-Torah. He's a mamzer who can't marry anybody. He can't marry regular Yisrael because a mamzer can't marry regular Yisrael. He can't marry mamzeres because the Rabbanan made exera to avoid this. And it's really, they can't be oiker something min ha-Torah. V'chein ki asar Rav Yechon asar b'mamzeres. She can only marry, the Rambam says, he can only marry somebody who is also a mamzeres by Gzeres Chachamim. So there's not going to be a lot of people like that. So the Chen Kiosra Rav Yechon Osir b'mamzeres. Ve'amai korele mamzer la'osir b'bas Yisrael, because he can't marry a regular bas Yisrael. Shalach le Rav Chizal Rabbi Biad Ravacha bar Rav Huna. Rav Chizda seems to be of this opinion that Bezdin can be oiker davar min haTorah. Because he sent him, Ein Bezdin masin loker davar min haTorah v'Tanya. I'll show you that they can be oiker. Me'emasai adam yorish esishto ketana. We know that a father can accept kesef kiddushin on behalf of his minor daughter. Now, if there is no father, the mother or the brothers can accept kiddushin on behalf, but it's only kiddushin midrabanan. Now, normally a husband inherits his wife rather than the father inheriting his daughter. The question is, when do we consider in this kind of, since the daughter can always make miyun, in this case, this minor daughter can make miyun, at what point do we say the marriage is such that he's yorish his wife? When she becomes a boigeres, when she, when she goes through puberty, 12 years old and has 2 hairs. When she goes into the chuppah, when she has relations, at that point, he inherits her, he can go to her funeral if he's a kohen. She can eat truma if he's a kohen. The Gemara explains these shitas. When she hits puberty, what? And she doesn't eat chuppah? Means even an adult girl is not yorish her husband with only kiddushin. You need at least nichnas l'chuppah as well. So the Gemara amends the sheet of Beis Shammai. She has to be an adult with 2 Cyrus, and she has to go to chuppah. V'hachi karmelei Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. The Kamritu, you say mishitichanas l'chuppah, fine. If she's reached 12 years old, mani l'chuppah, then the chuppah will work. V'ilo lo mani l'chuppah. Rabbi Eliezer mishiti boil. Rabbi Eliezer says chuppah is not enough. She has to have bia. Rabbi Eliezer in ma'isa ketana klum. But a ma'isa to a ketana doesn't have halachic status as a kinyan. So ema mishetagdil v'shetibol. Even Rabbi Eliezer holds she has to be an adult and then bia. Now, the Gemara set this all up for the following: Ketani mias, whatever you want to say. It says Yorsha. It says the husband in this case is yarshening her. V'ha'acha dimidiraisa vu yarsle. Mina Torah, this is only kiddush midrabanan. And mina Torah, the father should inherit the daughter. Umidrabanan yarsle bal, and the rabbanan can be oiker that and say that the bal inherits her. Comes the Gemara very famous answer. Hefker bezdin hefker. When it comes to money, Chachamim have the power to move money from even midaraisa to rabbanon. They have koach to be mafkir a person's assets completely, and therefore they do have that power. Dam Rav Yitzchak, minayin shefker bezdin hefker, shenema. Ezra made a statement called "Asher lo yavoli shloshet yamim ba'atzas asorim v'azkenim." Whoever doesn't show up within 3 days, yechram kol rechusho v'yibar mikal gagoyla. We are going to take possession of all of his assets. So we see here, Chachamim have the ability to be machrim a person's assets. Rabbi Elazar Amar Mehacha, Eila nachalois asher nachlo Elazar Kohen v'Yeshua ben Nun, v'roshei ha'avos, lematos bnei Yisrael. At the end of Sefer Yoshua, they divide up the land, and Elazar Kohen is there, Yeshua ben Nun is there, and these people called the Roshei Avos. Who are they? V'chima inyan Roshei Meitzel Avos. Eloim lecha. Ma Avos, fathers. Matchilin b'neim komashu yirtzu. Fathers inherit their children, or give over to their children in inheritance. Af Roshim, referring to the Sanhedrin. Manchil and the Sam kol mashu yirtzu. Okay. Then it says umetamila that the kohen, if he's a kohen, he can go to her funeral, even though there was only kiddushim midrabanan. V'achad miraisa via mitamila only, and not the baal umidrabanan mitamila baal. So it seems like again here that we have a proof that the chachamim could be oiker something davar min haTorah. So the Gemara says mishum davile meis mitzvah. She's considered at that point a meis mitzvah. What do you mean? Why should she be a meis mitzvah? Tanya, is there a meis mitzvah? Kol shein lo koivrin. Somebody who doesn't have anybody to bury them. Koirev acher moinin also. If you call and people come, ain't a meis mitzvah. So this woman has family. What do you mean she is the meis mitzvah? Since the family's been disinherited and the Baal is going to inherit her, she's considered a meis mitzvah. Okay. I was planning to learn another blot, but I think it's late. I don't want to be matriach the group, and we'll just pick up tomorrow from Tzaddik.
And let me ask you something. We learned before that if a man
Hang on, listen. Tomorrow we'll learn at 7:30 because we have the Tzorba at 8. And there's a few small blot coming up, so we'll catch up soon. What were you asking, Alan?
Yeah, but we learned before that if a man takes back his wife after she married somebody else, the child is not a mamzer. Here it seems
It's only in this case because of Teitzei Mizeh Mizeh. It's only because she got married with Eid Echad. It's only a special. This is not a case of Machzor Grusha. So this is the case of one man goes off to China, and one aide comes and says he's dead. He marries. It's a different case. So here the Chachamim made a special gzeira that if she goes back and lives with the first husband after he came back, there's no get here. He's not allowed, but she's not allowed to go back and live with him.
But she had permission. I mean, later on, the Gemara talks about the Bezin allows her to, to remarry. I think it's mainly because of so that there won't be guna, right? Mishma guna.
Yeah, but the problem is a woman's not going to rely on Bezdin.
Right. So she didn't do her stadla. Yeah.
So she didn't do her stadla. So therefore, we knas her, and it's mamzer mizeh mizeh. Machzor Grusha is a different case.
Yeah. Ernie, how was it?
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah,
I davened in all 3 minyanim. I davened in Yik and in Adas and in the West Side Minyan, the beautiful minyanim, and
nice.
Nice. Okay.
Relaxing.
We missed you, Ernie. I can tell you one thing. The rabbi, we had 100 people. There were more people in shul for Saturday night than I've ever seen. Like it must have been 100 people, and he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal.
Where'd they come from?
Well,
he likes
Chabad
to choose, no?
He likes to choose Chabad subjects, and he's gotten a big crowd.
I would say 40% were Chabad, but the other 60%, there were a lot of people from the community, a lot of people from the shul. The shul was pretty full also. There were a lot of people from the shul. I mean, there were maybe 40%, but I mean, there was a big minyan, big.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was really great. And he made a Siyum Hashas this afternoon, also game. So, all right. Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead.
But
I get in Zimmer.
Zimmer. Okay.
Good Zimmer.